Hi, my name is Holden, and I'm starting this channel called the Everyday Reefer because I felt like there was a lot of YouTube videos or research that I would be doing, and I would have trouble finding, specific things, or sometimes just the most simple and easy, route into fixing problems and reef tanks that I feel like most of us, encounter eventually. So I just wanted to try to make a channel that would be more simple and more, affordable and easy ways to fix these harder problems that people come across. I feel like because some of the times, a lot of the easiest ways to, solve a problem can be a lot simpler than people make it out to be. So without further ado, about a month ago, I started having a dinoflagellate outbreak in my tank, which for those of you that don't know what that is, dinos are a photosynthetic bacteria that kind of look like algae, so they can, you can fool some people. But they take over your entire tank. They take over your sand bed, they take over your rocks, they can even start getting tangled up in your corals, and then it starts to be a real problem because it'll, irritate your corals, force them to close, and they'll stop growing and all that stuff. So the reason that, or the main theory on why you get that is if your nutrients bottom out. So if you have 0 nitrates and 0 phosphates, usually you would think that would be a good thing, but it's really not, because now all the algae and microorganisms are sort of imbalanced, right? Because dinos don't need nitrates and phosphates, but other kinds of algae do. So when you have a lack of that, now dinos just have free reign to kind of take over the entire tank. So I found this out through forums and stuff like that, and so I started looking up YouTube videos and all that stuff on how to solve it. And a lot of the times there was people saying, UV sterilizers, blackouts, all this other stuff, and a lot like upgrading filtration and all this stuff that, is just more money out of your pocket, So I just kind of looked at it from the source and thought, what, if I have a lack of nitrates and I have a lack of phosphates, why don't I just add those back in? And I'm also going to continue to dose bacteria so I can kind of get a more biodiverse system, right? So I started dosing those, and it was working. Actually, it did work, because about 3 weeks later, all my dinos were gone. All of them were gone. I'm not saying that this will work every single time for everybody, but I think it's a good start. Because you don't want to, you see all these people saying you want to buy a microscope, which they're relatively inexpensive, but that's just another expense. You want to buy a microscope, you want to figure out exactly which, dinoflagellate strain that you have, which, I just didn't want to spend any more money, so I thought, I'm going to try to go the easier route, and I'm just going to try to add nutrients back in. So that ended up working, and it works great, and I think that anybody who has that problem should try that first. But, so in doing that, I raised nutrients in my tank a lot, right? So then everything was good for about a week, and then I started to notice cyanobacteria started to come in, which does use nitrates and phosphates. So that's kind of the predicament I'm in now. So I'm working on that right now. The tank doesn't look that bad. I just cleaned it. There's some cyan on the rocks, which I'll show more in depth here in a second. But there's some cyan on the rocks, and there's some spots in the back that I haven't fully cleaned, but I'm actually happy about that because, it might help you identify if you have cyanobacteria. But, yeah, so I'm working on that, and the way to do that now is I added all those nutrients in, so now I'm working on bringing them back down to a stable level and making sure that I don't hit 0 again so that I don't have dinos in the tank, right? So I've been doing that through water changes, making my skimmer work extra hard, reduce feedings I've been doing, that's been helping a lot too, increasing mechanical filtration, just trying to keep everything, keep the system pulling down the nutrients. So that's what I'm working on right now, and yeah, let's take a closer look at the tank. So yeah, now that we're looking at the tank here, as you can see, I have some of this cyanobacteria right here on the rock work, which slowly working on right here. The sand in the front, I cleaned it a little bit so it's not too bad, but let's look over here on the side where you can see in the back here. You see all that, those little patches right there? That is all cyanobacteria. So yeah, I have been vacuuming the substrate a little bit, and I obviously, as you can see, you know, it's cleaned up, but and I've just been trying to reduce the nutrients as best as possible to try to make this, you know, stabilize again. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are having trouble with cyano or dinos for that matter, you know, this is a good journey that we can, you know, kind of all go on and try to figure out the best and easiest and simplest way to solve these problems here. I did have trouble, which made me really get concerned about the dino outbreak before, was my torch right here. I'll get a closer look at him here. But my torch, he was starting to get wrapped up in dinos. It was starting to kind of choke him out a little bit, choke out some of his polyps. Then he was starting to get irritated. I lost a frag of zoanthids, which I'm kind of upset about, but you know, you live and you learn. But yeah, sometimes, you know, that's just the way it goes in the hobby sometimes. So yeah, we're working on fixing that.